Kurzer Disclaimer, die heutige Folge ist auf Englisch, denn der Gast kann besser Englisch sprechen. Welcome to my G Spot. Hi guys, I'm Stefanie Giesinger and this is my G Spot. So my favorite place in the world where I want to speak with you about everything that's on my mind, and I'm sure on yours too. Those are topics like feminism, sex, love, relationships, and so on. Basically, I'm trying to break some taboo topics, and I really wish that we can all feel comfortable here speaking about those topics. And I'm not doing it on my own. I do it with guests. Those are people that are in the public eye, friends, basically just people that I associate with the topic and that in some kind of way fascinate me. Die Morning Pages. Meine Gedanken zu diesem Thema. As always, I'm going to start reading all my thoughts that I've written down on the topic. Friends with the ex? A WhatsApp message from Marcus Butler. Do you remember this? I open the message and see a picture of our favorite snack in LA. I start smiling and feel nostalgic for a moment. We've had such a beautiful time together, and I will never lose my gratitude for everything that we've been and still are for each other. I know that a lot of people say that it's not possible to be friends with the ex, especially when you have a new relationship. But I'm absolutely convinced that there are very beautiful ways to still love each other, but let go of each other. I even think it would be an issue to me if I'd date a person who couldn't deal with me being in some sort of friendship with my ex-partner. I mean, I grew up with the person. He shaped me deeply. So why would I not want him in my life anymore? I care a lot about him, and I know he cares about me too. I know that we both are lucky that we are very harmony-driven people and that nothing dramatic ever happened in between us. But I think it's our willingness to communicate about everything on a deep level that actually makes it possible for us to be on such good terms. Just last week, we've spoken for hours with each other, giving us updates about our lives, new experiences we've had, and plans for the future. I would even say spending time with him is healing, like a reminder of who I am and where I come from. I am very excited for this conversation and for being able to share insights on this episode about what makes us us. My guest today is Marcus Butler. For those of you who don't know him, he is one of the OG YouTubers and influencers. Now he's an entrepreneur, a DJ, and a fashion brand owner. Overall, just a legend, especially to me, because he shaped me like almost nobody did. We were in a relationship for 6 years. We basically grew up together, supported each other through all the ups and downs, and we shared a big part of our relationship online. So when we ended things in 2022, it was not only a big thing for us privately, but also publicly. I'm beyond grateful for our status quo and that he's here today to speak with me about what we think about our relationship today, what we look back on, what we might still be upset about, and how we managed to keep in touch and be cool with each other.
Sounds like a hell of an episode.
I know.
It's going to be a lot.
I know. Like, whilst I'm reading this, I'm like, oh my God, are we doing this? Are we talking about this?
Yeah, we're talking about it.
How are you feeling about it? Are you nervous?
I mean, no, I feel pretty... You're a bit nervous, right?
I'm sweating, and I'm not a sweaty person.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, you're doing this in English, so thank you, because it's probably taking you immediately out of your comfort zone, but I think it's better than me speaking very bad German like a 3-year-old.
I don't know. Let's see. But you know what's so interesting? Obviously, when we were together, by the way, I was convinced that we were together for 7 years, but then I did the math and it was 6 years.
Yeah, 6.
Crazy. But yeah, we were together for 6 years. Obviously, I was speaking every day English for such a long time. And then when we've broken up, I stopped and now my English went a little bit worse.
You're probably like, wow, that's a massive relief. Don't have to speak English anymore.
No, it's not a relief. It's more like it's crazy how fast you get not that good in a language.
Yeah, but don't you remember I used to always say this to you? I was like, when we're living together and stuff, do you think then in English, or like even dream in English, because you also speak 3 languages, so it's like you 1 minute you're speaking Russian, then German, then English, and like you'd sometimes mix everything.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, how do you process this in your brain?
Let's start with a game.
Okay.
It's an either or game. It's just 3 questions.
Okay.
You can explain your answer. You don't have to, as you like. Quickly rip off the Band-Aid or slowly drift apart?
Jeez. I think quickly rip it off.
Oh, yeah?
Because otherwise you're dragging something out, and I'd rather like get the intensity of it over and done with, and then process it as you're like, you have time to heal. Rather than if it's a slow process, I think you're kind of, it's harder to sometimes get into that state of newness.
Yeah.
So it can be way more difficult to just be like, poof, you know, it's like an explosion, but then it's easier, I think, in the long run.
I agree. I mean, I'm definitely a person who likes it more when it drifts apart, and then it's like, because there's always harmony, you know how much I need harmony around me, but it's definitely, or most definitely, it's healthier to have like a quick, okay, let's have a break and maybe also take some distance and then meet each other again.
Yeah.
But that is difficult for
It's difficult. Yeah, I think it's super difficult. It's also situation dependent and also person dependent.
For sure.
I think like, yeah, in our situation, it was, I actually don't know. It was maybe more of a
drifting apart. We were still living together for months.
Yeah.
And that was not healthy. I wouldn't say that was healthy.
Yeah, but yeah. This 100% was not healthy. But then this also like throws into the, like, think how hard it is to get an apartment in Berlin in general. So like when you throw that in of trying to then move, it just makes everything a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I agree. So ripping off the Band-Aid, basically. One soulmate or many soulmates?
Wow. Many soulmates. I think you can have like, not many, actually maybe not many, but like a few soulmates. I think there's maybe one like person who you can truly connect with on like a really deep level, which I think we have and did. But I think you can also share that with like friends. I also have beautiful friendships, and you can also have those deep bonded connections with people. So a few soulmates, let's give that as the answer.
I also think that is a little bit healthier, because if you only have one person where you think that is the person, ride or die, nobody else will ever have this connection with me, there's so much pressure on
it also can be a bit toxic.
Yes. So I agree with you. Many soulmates. And then the last one is a little bit spicy. Sex with the ex, no go, or yes, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think it also really depends on the situation, right? And the person. I think when the wounds are healed, then it's fine. But if not, then it might start a process again where you have to heal again.
It can be troublesome. It was funny because, like, I mean, you can also cut stuff if I say stuff and
oh God, what are you gonna say? Wait.
No, but like in the beginning, like when we were new into our split, but we were still like meeting up occasionally, right? We were still meeting up to go for lunch or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then some of my friends would be like, "Oh, like, do you think you guys are gonna, you know, like hook up or whatever?" And I was always like, "No," because it's gonna immediately throw in like a huge emotional complexity to the situation, in my opinion. So I was like, that's just not really worth it to get involved in that again.
I agree. I think you're very rational with that. For me, it was hard. When we split up and we were still living together and you were sitting on the couch, I would come to the couch and I would be like, I think I need a cuddle. You would be like, that's so weird, you know? And I get it now. I get it, but it's...
Yeah, I think
you were very rational.
Yeah, I think it's going into like a protection of yourself, because you're like trying to like close down that like barrier to open you back up again. So for me, it was like, go away.
Yeah, which I totally get now. And I'm grateful that you were quite rational there. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Do you actually believe in love at first sight? I think it's an illusion, by the way. Sorry.
No, I mean, I no, because
for you.
No, because love is so complex, right? And like just by looking at someone, if you're taking that statement as a fact, like then love is just about physical appearance, right? So no, but do I think you can be wowed by someone in this situation? 100%.
Yeah. I think a lot of people that are more spiritual driven, they would say like, oh, I see you and I feel like
I can feel it.
I can feel we're made for each other.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can. I'm not like super on this spiritual spectrum, if you call it that. So can't say I've felt that, but I think, yeah, you can look at someone and get a feeling and then find it interesting and want to move on that situation for sure. Which, yeah, I think we also had this. Well, I had this when we met.
I remember. What was the first thing you noticed about me?
The first thing, I just thought you were really cute looking. Like you're a beautiful woman. Like we're on this funny trip, right? We're on a influencer trip technically.
In Cannes
with like 10 people or 20 people from around the world. I was taken from the UK and you were taken from Germany. And yeah, there was an interest there to open up a conversation, but you were also very closed off in this moment. I don't know if you remember.
I remember. I thought you were in a relationship, but it was like, I don't know, there was no possibility in my head that we could date. But then we started talking at some point, and then I realized you are interested in me. Oh, a friend actually told me. That was so embarrassing.
Oh my God.
Do
yeah,
you
true.
Remember,
Yeah. But yeah.
That was so funny. Oh my God. It was the Ampha Gala. We were sitting at the table and then
on opposite sides of the table as well.
Exactly.
And then she just went up to you. This was also not something like I was not like, oh, look, go and tell her this. She just like said, I'm going to go and speak to her. And then went and spoke to you and said whatever she said.
Yeah, she sat down next to me and she was like, what do you think about Marcus? And I was like, he's nice. Why? And then she was like, yeah, you should actually speak with each other. I think he likes you.
It's kind of like we're in school, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, we were very young.
I mean, you were young for sure.
You too.
Not as young as you, but yeah.
That's funny. What is your favorite thing about me? Maybe I can start what my favorite thing about you is. Especially now in hindsight, I love that we are politically and socially on the same level. Like we see the world from a very similar perspective. And I thought that was normal. But now that I've also dated some people, I'm shocked basically how different people are from the political view. And also what I really, really admire about you is how you are also fighting for a better world without fighting for it. You know what I mean? So you're just very straightforward with how you see the world. And then you're like, I don't know. I just really like that about you.
Okay, nice. Thank you. You're like, I don't know, I think you're like the most kind-hearted person I know.
Thank you.
And you're always, which can also actually be a negative, which I think you know this, but like when you're always so willing to put other people in front of you, this can be anyone from your friend to your partner to whatever, sometimes you need to put yourself first, right? So this is a negative to the kind heart that you have when it comes to self growth or worth, I think.
I agree.
Jesus, we are getting deep straight away, aren't we?
Sorry.
My God, it's like a therapy session.
It is. But this G Spot is also a little bit like a therapy session. You know, Yannick, my best friend, was here. And I'm never really speaking with him like deeply about how much we like each other and what our problems are. And then we've spoken so beautifully. It was like therapy. And after this, our friendship also blossomed.
Cute.
Even a little more. Also, another thing that I really like about you is how much empathy you have for other people. And also, obviously, for me, which I really liked. And like, do you remember our first fight and what it was about? I think we never fought. That is actually a thing. I think we never fought. One moment I remember, and in hindsight, I'm again like, oh my God, I was so delusional. You didn't went voting for like European votings. And I remember I spoke with Leni, my friend Leni. I was like, I can't believe this is my boyfriend and he's not even going to vote. Honestly, now with all the people that I know and I've dated, I'm like, I was really, really delusional, because
To be honest, I can't remember what this was. And I think my reason was I was not living here right then.
yeah,
It was still when we were like flipping between London and Berlin.
yeah,
And we were also doing a shoot. There was
yeah, for European elections.
Yeah. And then I was just thinking like, not that I'm proud of this, but like UK is leaving like with Brexit, right?
Yeah.
So this was coming, and I think that's why. But yeah, whatever. This turned into like some stupid fight. But so I'd actually completely forgotten about that till you just said that. But other than this, I'm not someone who like has a lot of anger or likes confrontation. I think I also like harmony, and I'm also quite relaxed in a lot of situations. So it's quite rare for me to have a fight, I think.
I agree. Which I also very appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you need a little bit of spice though, right? Sometimes like it's good to have a bit of conflict because it creates a tension, and then it's like, but also, no, not about that.
Yeah. No, and I totally disagree with this opinion of like, oh, you should have some spice and you should actually argue sometimes. It's so healthy. I don't think so. Because we weren't arguing for 6 years and I was not missing it.
Craving a fight.
No. So we moved in together after 4 years. Do you think that was a good idea in hindsight?
Wow, this is such an interesting topic because obviously like I meet so many people here, right?
Yeah.
Like when I'm out and about, whatever. And the question is always, why are you here? Like, why are you a British person living in Germany? And it's always then like, oh, I moved here accidentally, actually. And this is why it's so, I mean, this is why it's funny because like when we used to split our time between London and Berlin, I was coming to Berlin for you. I was never coming here because I was like, wow, I'm getting into the city. I really love Berlin, which is so funny because I'm absolutely in love with the place now, and everything that it provides for me as a place to live is, I don't choose anywhere else to live because I love it so much. But when I say accidentally, it's because I was just doing my flying visit here, like we were normally doing, splitting between London and Berlin. I was on a job in New York and I flew to Berlin directly, and that was going to be like the week that I was here in Berlin. And then what the fuck happens? Fucking COVID, right? And then we're like, okay,
let's wait how long this will take.
That's a thing. So then everyone's obviously going through this situation, and at the same time it was like, okay, I still have my flat in London, just sitting there. And then because of Germany's border strictness with COVID, and also everything was going on with Brexit, they were like, if I was to leave the country, I wouldn't be allowed back in.
True.
So then it was like, okay, well, should I just stay here and just like long it out and see what happens? So we kind of did that, and then it just got stupid because like I think 6 months went by, we're all in this weird COVID situation, and then I was like, should I just like maybe commit to this? Like, so it really like threw everything in, and that's why I say accidentally, because it's like that was not in the plan.
We were actually, funny enough, looking for flats in London. And we found one that we loved. And we were like, yeah, should we put an offer in and so on?
Yeah.
And then COVID came.
So this like threw us also into a situation where, I mean, we can talk about that next because I think it's a really interesting topic, living together as a couple. I think COVID is a strange situation because it really throws you into an intense living situation because you can't leave the house. So you go from like having my flat, your individual time, to then coming together as a couple. But also then when you move together, you're just on top of each other.
Yeah, and I was mentally in such a bad state. That as well. Yeah,
I mean, it's just very intense. So moving forwards, I think for relationships, I think it's very healthy to not actually live together for a decent amount of time, because I just think it changes so much about the relationship. And what I loved about what we had is the time that you spent and committed to each other when we're living in different countries. You really like, it's beautiful because you come together to spend time together. So it's like you really appreciate that time that you spend, versus living together. It's just like everything goes down, and which is also nice because you have so much comfort in each other and you become like best friends as well. But you lose some elements of excitement and romance and whatnot.
I agree with you. now when I'm speaking with couples and they're like, yeah, we have a long distance relationship, it's so hard. I'm like, no, honestly, just appreciate what you have now, because this is such a beautiful time. As you said, when you are then together, you really appreciate it, and it's such quality, intense time. And then one day when you then actually live together, every day just blends into the other day, and some excitement definitely gets lost.
Yeah. And it's funny because I have no idea how you do this moving forward, because I still think, as I said, I think it's fresh and healthy to maintain that separate living space, even if you're in the same city, if it's possible.
Yeah.
But then how that moves forwards in terms of like, if you do, you know, want to settle down and have kids, and that's a whole other, I don't know.
I think this is something where you have to then put effort in, and still, when you are in a new committed relationship and you move together, have some dates planned and have quality time planned, and have your own spaces also in the house if you have the capacity and the privilege to, you know, have enough space. But other than that, I agree with you. I could not imagine moving in with another person right now. I really like my own space.
You grow to like it. It's like that's something that's also weird when you come out of a long relationship. I often question myself of feeling like selfish because I really enjoyed having that time for me. And I think like in a relationship, I'm someone who's also trying to be very like thoughtful and caring for the other person. So when that gets removed, the only person you then care about is yourself, which sounds very like selfish. And I was like always questioning this, like sounds very like, I don't know, obnoxious to even say it, but it's just also really nice. Like I grow to really like that time on myself and look forward to it. So again, sounds very healthy to me, to be honest. But when we split, was okay, I don't really have a life here because my life here was you. It's not like we had a big group of like shared friends, which I thought made it easier in this situation. So I was really like, okay, do I go back to London? It's crazy expensive in London. None of my friends who were living in London are really in London anymore. Do I go back to Brighton, my hometown, where all my schoolmates are still there, but they're all like settle city, married, kids, second kid on the way. I was like, not really what you want after a 6-year relationship. Or do I just say, fuck it, and stay here in Berlin, a city that there's so much opportunity and freedom to explore yourself? Why don't I just give it a go and see what happens? So I think the city really like gave me so much in that time period that made me really fall in love with it. And I was lucky because I met like such beautiful people. I have such an amazing group of friends here that it just helped my whole experience and situation. That is nice. And I think there is no place like Berlin for individual living, because people love to be individual here and not settled, and really, just a free little spirit. Yeah. And like, if I'm honest, I think a big part of that is also the nightlife in Berlin. And I say that because it's like, it's so unique versus any other place that I've experienced, especially if you compare it to the UK. It's like, the people it attracts and the atmosphere it creates and allows you to be in helped me connect with people on like such a deep level. And it's not like sitting here being like, oh, you meet like a party friend and then you just like chat shit with them. It's like you meet all these people, you have really genuine conversation, and then if you like them, you can take that relationship and move on from it outside of a clubbing environment. And that is what I think is unique with Berlin, is there's so many situations and the mindset of people who are going out are in that allow you to do that. And is that also why you want to be a DJ? Why you started to do music? You have Tender Sesh now, if you want to speak about it. What you do with a friend, a DJ couple, basically. Yeah. No, I think the DJ thing's like funny because I'm also like the classic moves to Berlin meme. Like you move to Berlin and then you start DJing, right? It's like you can, like, I laugh myself about that. But I mean, you all know I've always had an interest in this, and I always like had this shitty little like Pioneer controller that I bought like, I don't know, when I was 18, and it was always like sat in my room and I never like used it. And then I carried it around the world with me, like when we traveled, when I moved to like Berlin with you as well, but I still just never put my time in to learn it. And then through COVID, I started to take some courses in it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is actually interesting. And I think, again, just since the split, you have time to do stuff or more time. So I just was like, okay, why don't I just give this a go? And yeah, I mean, it's just a hobby, but I have a lot of fun with it, and I love music, so it's just a nice passion thing you can put some time into, and yeah, get a nice feeling out of.
Yeah, that is nice. And I remember you started also doing some things with music since the beginning of our relationship, basically. And we wanted to do music together. I don't know if you remember, you were doing
Oh
some
my God.
beats
Oh
and
my
I was
God.
singing. I was like, I'm going to sing in Russian because, I'm so unique. And it was so
Do you know when this was? Like, I have these videos of this. I should actually show you. It's pretty funny.
Oh, God.
It was like the first COVID Christmas where
Oh, yeah. Where we couldn't visit our families.
So we're just at home. And I think we got really, really drunk. And then we just were like, yeah, let's just make some music. And it's like, you were sat there on this beanbag. Let's like started singing, like, I can't remember the song. And I was sitting there like trying to make a beat or something. Yeah, I'm gonna show you these videos after.
Oh my God. And we once also thought that we singers now. Do you remember the song? I want a place to stay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I remember that as well. And then we also had a little podcast situation where we thought we both will have a podcast.
Yeah.
You had a podcast before, so
Yeah.
you know what you're doing here.
I had like an OG podcast, yeah. It's like back, I don't know, it's crazy, but how even long ago was that? Like, must have started the podcast 7 years ago.
You were one of the
don't
first
remember.
ones, and you were always in the podcast charts worldwide.
Yeah.
Number 1 or number 2.
Fuck, what happened?
What happened to you?
No, I mean, it's like YouTube, right? Like I was just doing something early on before a boom, or at the right time of a boom, right time, right place, doing something, and then yeah, you can go on a journey and experience with it, and then you have new generations of people coming through. You're now a new generation of a podcast. Look at you, got this fluffy set going on. You got like people over here, cameras. But yeah, don't know what the point is we're getting to there. But
No, sorry, I was just talking about our projects.
True. Yeah, and then in COVID we were like, yeah, we're gonna do a podcast, and then we started to even record some episodes, and we did a photo shoot.
That photo shoot.
That photo shoot was rough.
Yeah, I remember that was actually the situations where it was tough for me.
Yeah.
Because we started to work together.
Yeah.
Because we also had a fashion brand together, which we maybe don't want to speak about, because it ended up not being the best thing. But that was definitely difficult for our relationship, I would say.
I think that's something that becomes like what I really loved about us with our relationship was we have two totally different levels and situations of having some sort of fame or being in the public eye. Like if you when I think of me, it was being a YouTuber growing up, you build an audience, and that audience is different to the audience that you have from being like doing everything that you did through the TV show to get you to where you were. It's like a totally different connection, but we could understand that about each other. So it was really beautiful because like we could share those moments, or if you're struggling with something, it's like you'd be very understanding of what that's like.
True.
So I always really loved that, but I think it often pushed you into thinking, let's do a project together, let's work together, because we're kind of doing similar types of things, and then you just think you should always do it, and maybe you shouldn't always do it, because when you're living together through COVID with your partner, with your soulmate, and then you throw work on top of that as well, I just think it can be it's just a lot.
It's just a lot. And I think that actually takes the spark away, because then you're constantly in meetings with each other. Yeah. You're just like, you have to be creative with each other, which I loved being with you. But still, then in the end of the day, it's not like, how was your day?
Yeah.
And let's do something fun together. It's more like, I need a moment for myself, And I think now in hindsight, I wouldn't do that probably again.
Yeah, I would definitely keep that distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Healthy distance. I agree. Do you remember when our families met How was that like?
Oh my God.
It was so stressful to me.
God, for you.
It was awful. We went on a holiday in St. Lucia. Of course, where should the family meet? In St. Lucia. And I was the only person that could speak both languages or all three languages. And I had to translate the whole time. And it was so stressful to me. And I feel so bad even putting such a negative mindset to that situation, because it's actually beautiful. I love your family and my family loves you and they loved each other. Everyone loved everyone. But I was just in the middle of it and I was like, my head is cooking. And my father would say something that is absolutely not funny and he was like, translate that. And I'm like, yeah. So my dad said this
likes
and
the
this.
fries, they taste good. Yeah, loves them. Yeah, I mean, for you, you could tell it was a stressful situation.
2 weeks. It was so stressful.
At least in this place, there was activities, right? So like you could like meander off over there and like do some volleyball or something, like, so you weren't always on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for you, I think it's also there was two things. It showed me like it's really beautiful because you can bring people together who can't communicate at all, and you still can have some sort of understanding with a lot of like hand gestures and like
True.
Stuff like this. So you can still have a level of connection, but also it's just a lot, isn't it? Like you've never met for the first time. Group trip to St. Lucia, let's go.
Living all in one hotel. Oh, for explanation, my parents, they can't speak English, and obviously Marcus' parents can't
speak Russian.
Or
Russian
or German. Yeah.
So there's a comms problem there.
But what relationship models and ideas did you grow up with?
Wow. What do you mean by this? Like
what was family constellation like for you? Do you think that influenced you a lot? I feel like your mom and dad, if that's okay to speak about, are very different.
Very different. Like very different. Yeah. And it's like different to the point that when you I'm like, how were you together? How is this a thing, you know? But I mean, it's kind of beautiful now. So I mean, yeah, I can break that down, because growing up, I mean, I had a very like nice upbringing for sure. My family were always very caring, even if they were going through stuff. So the difficult thing for me growing up was going through divorce. So loads of people go through it. Your parents divorce. What was a bit strange with ours, so the parents split, I think, when I was around 8 or 9. Of course, your whole world comes crashing down as a kid. You're like, oh my God, what? But I had my 2 sisters to go through this with. And then it was just a bit confusing because like a year or a year and a half later, they then came back together. And then that was like super strange because you get really excited that your family's back together again. And then like a year again later, it's like, oh, we're splitting up again. So that was just like challenging, but that's also kind of like, I think a lot of people will have experienced similar things. So I think, I don't know how this shaped me in terms of my view on relationships. But yeah, I think it always made a bit of a trust thing at first. Like I always had a bit of a trust thing in terms of really opening up and trusting somebody, like a partner at first. But then I think once I get past that barrier, I'm very like open and trusting of that person.
Yeah, but I also think, again, I hope it's okay that I'm speaking about it. It was also what happened before we were a couple, like your relationship before that. It also took away your trust.
Yeah, true. Yeah, wow.
Sorry to bring that
No,
up.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that was a whole thing in itself, right? Like it was, I mean, I can laugh about it now, I can, but it's also like this coming out of that relationship, which ended in a very unpleasant way.
And it was also very public.
And it was very, very public. And I was like, let's just say it was more unpleasant for me than the other person without going into too much detail. But then I was like, fuck relationships. Like this was a 6-year relationship. I was like, I don't want a relationship. Like fuck everything, blah, blah, blah. And then 5 months go by of being single. And then that's when we met. And we met at a time where I was very anti-relationships and like, I don't want a relationship. I have zero interest. And that's what I always say to people is like, you can have a thought about something and then you can just meet someone and everything can change immediately. But that was a weird a weird situation as well, because then I started to move on with you and became like quite happy in this. But then there was a lot of like toxicity and negativity still kind of being thrown around from this previous stuff. Yeah, but I was also just like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. Like,
yeah,
I'm just doing me.
yeah, I agree. I remember all of this like it was yesterday. Do you believe in open relationships? Why and why not? Why or why and why or
why are
why
you
not?
saying this with such a smile?
I don't know. No, because I was already thinking about what I want to say. When it came towards the end of our relationship, obviously we were talking a lot about us starting an open relationship, but then it never came to that. And do you think it's good that it happened, that we were never in an open relationship? I think the idea of an open relationship is a very pleasant one to me. Like I can really imagine having one, but it's a big step.
Huge
because
step.
I don't know how that would work. Even though I already had an episode about it with a woman that is in an open marriage, or was in an open marriage. They're not open at the moment. And it was so helpful to see how she does it and how they are just committed without losing their own individuality.
Yeah.
But it's a big step.
It's a complex topic, I think. And I think I also really like the idea of it. And as you just said, it's something that we became, like we spoke about it almost for a year, actually, I feel, and trying to like build up, and we became okay with the idea of it, but we also didn't know what that idea was. And we didn't have like specific rules or boundaries. We didn't really like have a situation where either of us was then to just go off. Like we didn't move on it, basically.
Yeah.
So I think the question is, if I also really like the idea of it, but I've never been in one technically, so I don't know exactly how it would play out. But how I look at it is there's two different types of relationships you can have with a person, and it's you can have a deeply bonded emotional connection, and then you can have a sexual relationship and connection. And sometimes in a person you can have both, which is what we had, and then you end up in a committed relationship or in a monogamous long-term relationship. But I also think you can have those two things, like how you have a friendship that's a deep emotional connection with someone. Doesn't mean like you don't necessarily have a sexual one with them. But I think a lot of us as humans are very sexually orientated, and it's very natural that you have sexual desires, fantasies and whatnot over there.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to tackle that as a thing of, could this work in a relationship if two people have that mindset? And I'm not saying it should also be for everyone, because I think it absolutely should not be for everyone. Some people should maintain a monogamous relationship because that's what they're into and that's what they're comfortable with. So yeah, to be honest, I'd like to try it, but I'm also, I don't know, like.
Me too. It still fascinates me, but don't know.
Yeah.
Like, not that there is a partner right now that I could test it out with, but still it's, yeah. But I feel like I will try it one day.
I think so too. I mean, for me and for you, maybe.
When do you think the initial crush wore off in between us? I feel like it was COVID time when we had to move together. Because when we had the long distance relationship, it was always like we didn't see each other for a week or two, sometimes not for a month. And then it was super exciting, and there was still some nervousness when we would see each other again.
Yeah, 100%. Would agree with you, but I think I don't think it was COVID and living together that was the problem. I think it was a combination of everything at once. Moving together, COVID, and then trying to like launch a project together, working within that environment as well. All of that was just too much.
Crush is gone.
Just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it was a big step. Were there any mistakes that you couldn't forgive? I actually have one thing that I feel like I couldn't forgive myself, and it was really just like when we've broken up, I feel like I tried to move on so fast that it was unhealthy. and that is something that I cannot forgive myself.
Yeah, I mean, everyone deals with things differently.
Yeah.
But what was the question again?
If there are any mistakes that you couldn't forgive me or you, but to be honest, we were always speaking about everything. Why are you smiling? You thinking
No, I'm
of something?
I'm trying to think. Like, I'm sure, of course, over the years there is, but I can't think of something super specific. We were like a bit boring sometimes in our, like, I think that's what I think I personally have gone on a journey on, is like being, not that we weren't spontaneous, we were, but we were just so comfy in us that we were like very reluctant to do new things or try new things as a couple. We just had our comfort zone and we were very much within that comfort zone.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
We didn't have like dates or anything. We were just like, what should we do today? And then you did the Mexican food. I loved it. And we had it like 5 times a week. And that's it. We didn't do anything. We didn't have hobbies together.
Yeah, but I think, okay, wait, can I actually, I'm going to do,
take the jacket off.
This thing off.
Show your tats. Show off your new tattoos.
I really got tatted up as well, right?
Actually, yeah, when we came together, you didn't have one tattoo. And then we started with a couple tattoo that you still also have.
No, I removed it. No. Yeah.
Okay.
No, of course I do. Yeah.
Yeah. We had this. We did this.
How's yours looking? Is yours still looking a bit shit?
It's looking awful. It looks
Show
like
me.
I'm like a 60-year-old guy who did it in a prison.
Yeah, yours
it looks awful.
It looks a bit weird.
It's green.
Mine's
and it's
just faded.
Yeah, I would rather have yours.
Yeah.
And then we also had another partner tattoo that you covered up.
Yeah, I mean, don't take it offensively.
Yeah, it was awful.
No, I mean, I just have a
I just have
view
a
on
new,
it.
I just have a new tattoo on top of it.
Wait, I lost the trail of thought though, what I was going to say.
So we didn't start new things. We didn't have hobbies together.
So I think like something with us is we became so comfortable in being together that we would then do everything together. So like,
that's true.
Even to the point of like, I'm going for a run. You would then be like, I'm coming too. True. So it's like, really, we became like one, like wherever we would then go, if you're going for dinner or even some jobs or some stuff like this, it's like you would be together.
Oh God, that gives me, whilst you're talking about it, I'm like, I can't breathe.
But do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we didn't have that, like, and that's something that was like, in hindsight, I'm like, that was probably really not healthy. Like it's again, there's like positives from it because it's like, it's really nice that we were that comfortable with each other, but it's also just that's a lot because you didn't have your space. And I mean, maybe we were also going through strange patches where you, like, one of us also didn't want to be alone or something. But yeah, I would not do that again. I would definitely keep like your distance with hobbies or things you're into, or you don't have to do everything together.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was a mini you. I mean, I said it last weekend when we saw each other. I liked the fashion that you liked. I listened to the music that you listened to, the movies you liked, I liked. There was no me without you, you know? And then when I occasionally, very rarely, went out with my friends somewhere, I would always have the feeling that like, oh, I left Marcus alone at home, a little dog, you know, I have to go back to him, you know, and I felt bad for it, especially when you then moved to Germany because of me. It was like, I can't be out for longer than 2 hours with my friends because I feel bad.
I mean, I don't think I ever also made you have that feeling, like being
you were playing
weird about
PlayStation at home.
But yeah, I think that also from your side comes from never really, like, which is why the break was also needed, because you never really had like space or time to grow. Like, since you won the TV show, your whole life was just like 0 to 100 real quick. And from that moment on, like, think of like our first date when I like flew to Berlin. You moved to the city.
That's
like
insane.
And like I was helping you move in. Like on a first date, it's just like you never did a lot of those things that as just a human and an adult you need to experience yourself, to because it helps develop you, it grows you as a character.
Yeah.
And so much of that you didn't have.
Yeah, I was never alone. I was really never alone. So either it was friends that were living with me, or I was living with my family, and then I was together with you. So I was not for a day just alone.
Yeah, but like as we were speaking the other day, you really now also enjoy your time alone, which is so lovely to hear, because back then it was like scary for you to be alone, I think. Like it was challenging, and like
obviously I was also in a very bad state mentally. That's also interesting, I guess is the word that I'm looking for, to look back on, because I was depressed, and I just remember this one flat. It was so bad, and I was lying in bed and I was crying the whole time. And how did you feel? It must have been awful to you as well. Like, just
I mean,
knowing in what a bad state I am. And then was taking antidepressant, and then we flew to Portugal, and I forgot my antidepressants at home, and God, that was it's such an intense time.
Yeah. I mean, of course it's challenging, but like, I mean, I just felt bad for you, obviously, like wanted you to be fine. But yeah, I mean, it was just a shit situation.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to now see like that you're out of that, and you're also like, you enjoy being alone. That's like really beautiful to see.
Thank you. So we shared a lot of our relationship online. Do you sometimes wish we didn't do that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, yeah, of course. But that's funny, right? Because I've gone from someone who like daily vlogged for 4 years, like every single day, and then like we even like sometimes so what's really nice with this is you have like a memory from that period in your life that you can watch back on, almost like a newer version of your parents making a home video, but it's like your life, your video and whatnot. So that's really nice. And yeah, like I think when we did like road trips across America, like I was vlogging actually then, and I would do these like weekly vlogs actually with you at a time. And that's nice that I have those, because it's like, okay, it's not public, it's private on the channel, but it's like I can still go back and look at that and appreciate that time of life and what we're doing then. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, if I think of like, oh my God, when we were at the beginning, we were like Snapchatting like crazy.
The first date when you came to Berlin, everybody knew. Yeah. Everybody knew that we are dating.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. And we were like, looking back now, I'm like, it's probably like, I would cringe so hard watching like some of this stuff. But I think we're young and you're excited and you're just like, whatever, just put it out there.
So interesting. And it must have been so funny, because you had obviously your followers, I had my followers, and then when we started dating, they saw each other together, and it was like, oh my God, all those fan accounts of Starcus. That was our ship name.
I mean, it was weird, right? Because Germany was like, used to be like the 5th biggest country on my YouTube. So obviously there was some sort of crossover. Some of those people knew you. So for them, and vice versa, the people who knew you then would have seen my videos or knew of me through YouTube, they were just like, what the fuck is going on here?
And then the second date that we had, already paparazzi pictures came out. Yeah. Do you remember that?
That was that first weekend still though. Yes. In Berlin.
Yeah.
Like when we did the boat trip.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we're both like a bit roughed up in those pictures.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, funny.
But yeah, I think if I would have the choice, I would also be definitely more private with it. But it was also different times back then on social media. It was like you share everything that you're going through, blah, blah, blah. Now it's not, you don't do that on social media anymore.
I mean, some people do. I just think it's just weird, because I've gone through something where I changed so much from where I was, like sharing everything, to now I feel very reserved in the stuff that I share. So I don't know, but then there's people who, have kids and share their kids online, and,
True.
But I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah, probably I won't either, because I'm more careful now. Do you think it was in those moments where we have vlogged a lot, did we have also times where we weren't as happy as we tried to seem to the outside? I feel like it was for you individually sometimes like this, where you didn't actually feel like being the YouTuber Marcus Butler, and then but you were still putting out their videos.
Sure.
But I don't think in our constellation together.
Yeah, I don't think so for us. Like, just faking being happy to put it out there. I don't think this is anything we ever did. Yeah, for me, I think it was for sure strange, like trying to evolve and like go on this journey of, is this what I want to do anymore? But I should do it. Is it stupid to not do it anymore? All of those things are, yeah, very strange to go through, which is why I just stopped in the end. But
yeah, which I understand. Yeah, I'm just asking this because a lot of people say with couples that they see online that it's also just a fake world and it's not always, in Germany we say es ist nicht alles Gold, was glänzt, so it's not all gold that glitters.
Yeah.
But I feel like we fortunately never had to fake anything to the public.
I never forget, like early into the relationship, you had a meeting with someone. I can't remember, like can't remember who it was. And you came out and like the people you had a meeting and walked in and said to you, they were like, this is so smart what you guys are doing, you know, like really smart that you guys have created this relationship, like great marketing thing. And you were like, what are you talking about? I just remember that funny thing from back then.
I remember too. I totally forgot. In general, do you think we were good at communicating?
Wow. So let me just build some drama. Some things, yes, like we were very open communicators in general about, like, if you want, about topics.
Yeah.
But I think you were definitely better at communicating than me on some things, but generally I would say we had good communication.
Very good communication, and we spoke so much. I feel like there was never a moment where we would sit opposite each other and we would be like, well, how's the food? You know, we were talking non-stop.
Yeah.
And I think I also never knew how valuable that is, because I don't have that with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, I feel like we do have a very similar worldview, maybe because we grew up together basically, but maybe just by a coincidence.
Yeah. I think we would never go to, like, you know, like when if there's bad energy or a bad omen or something, like you've had a disagreement on something, we would always try and clear that rather than like letting it sit and then build up tension, which I think is another reason of why we didn't end up properly fighting, because we were always communicating about whatever was going on.
That's true. What do you think was the best experience for us as a couple? Or do you remember an experience that was beautiful?
There's not like one thing that like jumps out at me, but I think just the relationship in general, I think what we had in general, I look back on with fond memories. It's like, I think also a lot of people who, you know, if I meet someone who then maybe knows who you are or whatever, and then comes up in conversation, and then they're often shocked at that I'm like, oh yeah, like we hang out and we're cool and there's not, you know, a lot of people can't understand that, I think, or they just can't understand, they just don't expect that. So I think for me, it's just in general, I look back on that period of life with fond memories. And it's not like there's not one particular thing I can think of. But in general, I just think we had a very, very nice time across those years.
I agree. Definitely not our best memory, but I just had to remember when we were on our first holiday, and then we had rats in our hotel room. And I woke you up in the night. I was like, Marcus, there's someone moving the curtains. You're like, no, sleep, nobody's there. And then a rat ended up in the face, jumped up
at that light next to the head.
God.
That was actually wild, yeah.
And then the rats took my makeup and ate it underneath the table. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then we both had diarrhea, and there was just a little sliding door.
Honestly,
it was so bad. It was a glass sliding door. Obviously, you could hear anything and everything. It was our first holiday. We were just together for, I don't know,
a few, like 6 weeks or something like this.
Exactly. So
way to break the ice. Honestly, get food poisoning, stay in the same room together with no proper bathroom door. You are gonna see everything then.
With rats,
yeah. That was Mykonos, wasn't it?
That was Mykonos, yeah.
Crazy.
Do you believe in marriage?
Yes. I don't know. Like, I mean, believe in it. What does that mean? Like, do I want to get married, or do I believe that marriage is a thing or should be a thing?
Kind of both. I mean, of course, marriage should be a thing for all the people that want to get married and believe in the concept. But would you want to have that for you? I know that it was a topic for us. Like, we would have gotten married if we would have stayed together. But now, after being separate, my view on it definitely changed a little bit. I still want to get married, but I question it. I'm like, why? Is it because society wants me to, and I'm a little bit like waiting for my big day?
Yeah.
But
do you feel like that? Like, because that's also fine. Like, you can get very excited and have that, like, people are like, yeah, and then I want to throw a big party with all my friends and family.
For sure.
So you can also do it, but you can also just do that without getting married. You could just also, so for me, it's like what you said. I think there's way less now, but it's always been a societal pressure on you should get married, you know, from family members above. It's like you get into a relationship, you get to a certain age, everyone's like, oh, when are you going to marry? When are you going to have kids? And I just think like marriage prehistorically, or if you look at it factually, it's just kind of a contract between two people. And do I think I need that in a long-term relationship? No, because I'm not like, I don't want to sign to an agreement with someone in a classical marriage term. But does it also maybe give a sense of security to a relationship if you want to then have kids and stuff? Don't know. Like, it's hard for me to say. I've not been down that route.
I agree, but like, do you need a security because it's written on paper?
I mean,
because there could always be a day when you wake up and you're like, actually, I don't want this anymore, and you can still be married.
Yeah.
Actually, it's all just a little bit of an illusion to me.
I think the security can be useful if you end up having a family and then it, you know, things go toxic, and I think there's some level of protection there. But if I'm honest, it's also, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Same.
So do I think I would get married one day? I guess maybe.
Because you don't know it differently.
Because I don't know it differently, but maybe it's also like a civil partnership. It's not a marriage. You know, it's like.
Yeah. But then I also think like it's beautiful to call someone husband and wife, but why? It's just words. But you know, to me it's like,
nice.
That's my husband.
Yeah.
It's the same with children. I'm like, I hope it will just happen to me one day, because right now I'm like, no.
I mean, yeah, we were speaking about this. Funny, like I was thinking the other day of all the stuff we were speaking about the other day, because there was like, we spoke a lot about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And one of those, we were actually speaking about kids.
Yeah.
And then I want to, like, do you think you want kids at some point? Yeah.
Yeah, like, yes. But also, people show me pictures of babies and I'm like, nah, you know, maybe I'm just not ready. Maybe there's not the right person in my life, not the right constellation with a person in my life. But back then, I feel like when we were together, I was really imagining, oh, finally I'm gonna have a baby, and that's gonna be a big relief. Finally, I have a
child.
No, that as well.
A purpose.
Thank you. Finally, I will have a purpose in my life, you know. But it was more like looking for a purpose because I felt so lost in this world, and the only thing that I had was like my online persona and my job and our relationship. And there was nothing else. And I feel like through also our breakup, I started to find what actually makes me happy. And I started to do things just for myself. And that also gave me some sort of purpose. And now I'm like, so don't need a baby anymore, I guess. You know? But I think it should just happen one day, and I hope it will just happen one day.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Without that added pressure and planningness that goes into it sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think was the worst experience we had as a couple? I think for us it was maybe in the complete beginning. So when I came to London for the very first time, we were dating for 1.5 weeks, something like this. And I was like, oh, by the way, I have a disease, but hasn't happened for a while. It's where my intestine gets twisted, blah, blah, blah. The day after, I'm like, yeah, I'm vomiting. You're like, oh, was it something that we ate? I was like, I'm not sure. One day after, I ended up in hospital.
No, I remember we were like actually planning to go out for dinner. Like, I was really excited because I booked this one like nice restaurant that like at the time sushi
samba.
Yeah, or whatever. And I was excited about this. We're going out on Saturday night, and then it came to getting ready, and you were like, I feel a bit sick. And I was like, okay, that sucks. Let's just like chill on the sofa or whatever. Like, fuck dinner. And then we're like chilling there. You'd just like come out the shower, and then you're like sitting there like in a dressing gown still, and like a towel wrapped around your hair, and you're like, I think I need to throw up. I was like, oh shit, that sucks. And I was like, oh, do you have food poisoning? Is it something you've eaten? Maybe that's weird because we ate the exact same thing at lunch, and I feel fine, so maybe not. And then it's like you had to throw up again, and then again, and then like you start, I don't know. Then it just got like really bad really quickly to the point that we were like, I think you have to go to hospital. Like you couldn't even take like water down like it was really like.
Yeah, I drank water and it came out straight away.
Yeah, but also I just remember you like went like everything, your whole color disappeared. Like you just really didn't look good. So yeah, we went to hospital, and then I had like a family holiday the next day, or this was a shit situation.
I think that was one of the worst experiences we had in our time. But I had my operation and stuff. So
yeah, do you remember your operation? Like, I mean, of course you remember it. Like, that was also,
it's a blur for me.
It's crazy. Like, this was such a also intense period because like you went through so much in hospital. And then do you remember like we were living together, and it was like 3 weeks at home. I was like doing your injections every day. And this was also just, I mean, it's just a shit situation to go through for you.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
For weeks, I couldn't leave the bed.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was okay. Why do you think we split up?
Jesus. I think I touched on it earlier with you not being allowed, but not having that time to develop and grow as a human, which I think everyone needs to go through, but specifically because of your case, what I said, where you went on the show, and since then your life was moving 100 miles an hour. You never really experienced a lot of things that you need to grow and develop as a human. I think that was probably a big part of it. Even though I think in the relationship, I was always trying, like, very understanding of that and like trying to allow that, but you still, sometimes you need to not have something there which you can fall back on to really go through those things. Like, I mean, we don't have to go into it, but I can even think of like, if you're going through a rough patch or something when you're together, that other person in your relationship can be there to comfort that and be there and talk you through it and just, I don't know, just be there as an emotional support network.
Yeah.
So post split, maybe that's also happened where, you know, you're going through something and then you don't have that person there. You know, you have your friends and stuff, but like learning what that's like and going on that journey, I think is also helps you grow and develop. And I think that's probably a big part of the split. I think. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think so it was definitely after a phase where I was depressed as well, which I found out later, because I all of a sudden had like so much energy, and I was like, oh my God, everything is amazing, and I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to meet so many people, which I never wanted whilst we were in a relationship, right? I always felt like I needed to be alone, and I was very scared around people, was quite anxious, and never really felt comfortable. And then it's like a whole new world opened up to me. And then after I visited a psychotherapist, they told me, you were just out of your depression, congratulations. And I think then I had the strength to also be on my own, for the very first time. And then, as you said, the first time when I was again in the not best mental state, I didn't have you to fall back on. And it was when I learned that I can still be with myself and I can be my own support system. So it was so important for me to go through this breakup and through hard times afterwards on my own. And I went on a holiday some months after we've broken up on my own. It was also so interesting. I could never be alone before that.
Yeah.
It was terrible for me to even for an hour sit in a room on my own. And then this intense period was so healing to me. So I think individually we just needed also split up.
I think in hindsight for me at the time, it was like, it's funny because it's like nothing happened, right? It's not like someone cheated, like there was no like specific thing, which sometimes makes it harder because it's not like you did something really bad, then I can be very negative about that and helps me to go this direction and be like, fuck you. Sometimes that can be beneficial. I think like in the previous relationship I had that happen, and for me that's then easy because I've got something I can use to be like, fuck you, and it helps me move in a different direction.
Yeah.
So for us at the beginning, it was definitely, for me, I was like trying to understand everything and cope with it, and like that was definitely challenging. But I also think now in hindsight, it's like me also having this space to grow and develop as a human, as a Brit living in Berlin has also been much needed. And I think it was very good for both of us that happened.
Yeah.
Actually.
Have you ever been unfaithful to me?
No.
No, you sure? No, I know that. Like no second I think you could have cheated on me.
No.
And if you would have told me, I feel like.
Yeah.
Same, by the way. If you're interested.
Let's do a lie detector test. No, but yeah. No.
How do you think we managed to still stay cool with each other and friends? I think because we actually took some time apart.
I think yes, but I also think it comes with a level of maturity, like from both sides, of looking at, as I said, what we had. And I think quite often in a relationship, when things go sour, it's very normal that you want to associate that period of time with negative thoughts and feelings. And for me, even though the ending was like a rough situation, rough patch, why should that cancel out all the positives that I've had and experienced with you? So that's just how I was feeling. And you obviously, I think, also thought the same. Like, you have a beautiful, like, we went through so much, and we had such a deep bond also as a friendship. It would just be sad to have lost that.
Yeah.
So I think there was also a motivation of trying to hold on to that and maintain that. And as you said in the intro or whatever, like, it would be weird in the future to think of not having me in your life or something like this, you said. I think it's also because we've been through so much, it would be sad to not have it in some capacity, I think.
I agree. It also sounds very cliche, but I feel like you are a part of me. Like, I think a lot of what I like and dislike is because of you. And I feel like it's the same.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, we grew up together. I feel like it's still also the same. I think some of your interests are also, I shaped you as well.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, you definitely have an influence on the person you spend time with, and we spent a very intense period with each other. So yeah, but some people could look at that from a negative and then hate, as I said, holding like negative thoughts about that could cause an upset. But for us, or for me anyway, it's nice.
Yeah, for me too. What are your feelings about being in the same room now?
Super chill.
Chill, right?
Chill as fuck.
I feel super comfortable
around
you. And then the last question is, maybe also a bit cringe, but it comes from the Redaktion. Do you see any possibility of getting back together in the future? This is not me asking.
Funny because we I feel like we spoke about this like
some days ago.
Yeah. So I've always looked at it as like I'm not longing for what we had. Like I'm not craving to come back to what we had. But could I imagine at some point in the future coming back together in some way, shape, or form? Yes. I mean, I think I can, but that's because of like the deep bond and connection we have, plus some other stuff. It's not something that I can not see. But it's not something that I'm like hoping for or holding out for something. I don't know. If it happens, for me, I'm just like, if it happens, it's going to happen.
Yeah, same.
You know, it's like...
Same.
Yeah. Well,
no, I'm the same. I'm like, if it happens, then it happens, but I'm not actively thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with everything. It's like, it's the same for me with marriage now or with having children now. I don't want to plan it in my head because it gives me so much like, but why am I even wanting this? And why do I not want this? And why am I thinking this? And then as soon as I switch on my brain too much, it becomes very messy in there. Too much, yeah. So I'm like, I don't care. Well, it's not that I don't care, but I just want to see everything so relaxed and everything's going to happen like it's going to happen anyways.
Yeah.
And you can't plan life too much.
That's what I mean. Like I would never put too much pressure on it or pressure on it. So, and I think it's nice that we both have that view.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Okay. So that was it with the little interview. The only thing that we have left now are the G tips. G Spot. Unsere G tips. Maybe you can give a tip how to navigate a breakup and how to stay friends after. If like a friend would ask you like, hey, do you have an advice for me? What would you say?
Okay, the first thing I would add a question into it is, how would you navigate it if it's a very tough thing to go through a breakup emotionally. If, like there's so many different reasons and situations a breakup can happen. So the first thing you need for sure, regardless of what has happened, is time. And for that time, I think you always need to be separated from things that were like reminding of that situation. So for example, it's not as easy to do that, but like say you're living together and you split, I think it's easier, just talking from my personal experience, to remove yourself from that living situation into a new environment, because it helps you to give space away from those things that emotionally connect you to that person. So that was like, whether that's even, I don't know, living at a friend's or going back to your parents or like just a different place of living, because then it allows you to be a bit more emotionally free. And then it's like, you definitely just need time. Like you need time to heal, to grow, to process what's just happened, and to also even think if, okay, is this something that you want to bring back in? Because as soon as you go to bring it back in, can also be that it's going to throw a whole load of emotions back in your face that maybe you weren't ready for. So again, that's where time comes in. And then communicate. Like communication is key in everything, and also in this post breakup situation of trying to come back to a friendship or whatever, is communicate with the other person. Is it the right time? Do you feel okay about it? Do I feel okay about it? Is it weird? And then just rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think what I just want to add on is trying to have empathy for the other person, like try and see the situation from their perspective, because sometimes you are very much in your own little bubble and you think like, why is the other person acting this way, and don't he know or she knows that I'm like this and this is happening to me. But also sometimes switching the perspective can help a lot.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really good point about trying to understand, which can be really hard, because if it's often in a breakup, whatever the reason, you're still can be negative towards the other person. And I would also say like, oh, it's so hard, but like try not to then like stalk this person on social media.
Oh yes.
Because you will take like everything that is going on and probably spin it in a negative way. Oh yeah. Regardless of what's going on.
Oh yeah.
So just try and avoid this. And then also try and understand it at the same time, like the situation the other person's going through.
I think muting the other person on social media is so helpful.
Yeah, I definitely muted you. I muted the shit out of you, for sure.
I get it. I actually get it, because I was living my high life. It's like, oh my God, and life is so amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Sorry. I know. I know. That's why what I meant, like, by I went on so fast. Or I was like,
I think, yeah, because now it's like bringing up a memory to come back to that question. I think you were like presenting it that you were also trying to move on so fast. So I think that was just like, yeah, that was a lot at the time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
it was very selfish. It was very, very selfish back then.
Yeah, but
no, honestly, I'm sorry. I get it. I feel embarrassed, and that's what I can't forgive myself. As I said,
mean, you can.
It's hard for me, because I'm like, I was actually selfish, too selfish in that situation. Felt great. Hindsight, not great.
Funny. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for speaking so openly about this. I'm like, I don't know, it just feels beautiful that we can do this, and that we are able to speak so openly about it. And I'm kind of proud, I have to say.
Yeah. Same.
About our relationship. I'm like, I feel like I want to show it off as well. Yeah, we're actually
there
cool. So thank you so much for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to you guys for listening and maybe also watching on YouTube. Every week there's a new episode of G Spot, every Wednesday. And we also have all social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Let us know what you think about this episode and about all the other episodes, and if you have any wishes for guests and topics for the next few weeks. So see you next week on Wednesday. Bye-bye. And again, thanks for watching.
Welcome to my G Spot.
G Spot ist ein Studio Bummens Original. Executive Producer Konstantin Seidenstücker und Leni Fester. Produktion und Redaktion Kate Kubel, P. Solomon Obong, Samuel Benke, Julia Schneider, Stefanie Giesinger. Das bin ich. Kamera und Musik Jonas Hafke. Ton Leon Waterkamp. Video Paul Ott. CGI Christine Papst. Setdesign Nina Oswald und Lilian Zeben. Social Media Jessica Linder und Hanna Ackermann.